A 15-year-old girl is dead, and the chilling confession comes from the last person you'd suspect, her own father. "This is pure evil, plain and simple," one officer said, his voice heavy with disbelief. "He stopped us and admitted, 'You won't find anything. I've just killed someone.'" If you're a parent, you know the instinct to shield your kids. But what if the threat is the one holding their hand? Zaria's desperate cries echoed that fateful weekend. "Mom, please, don't make me go to him." No one could have guessed that in just 48 hours, her lifeless body would be discovered in a state so horrific, the county sheriff called it a scene torn from the most terrifying horror movie. A warning: this investigation uncovers shocking, raw details that might hit hard, especially if violence and cruelty toward children is too much for you to bear. Friends, before I continue this difficult story, I would like to ask you to write in the comments which country you are watching this video from. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Underworld Expose and share this video with your friends. This story needs to be heard so that similar tragedies do not repeat, and so that the memory of Zaria lives in our hearts. Zaria Jocelyn Burgess was born on December 23, 2003, as an early Christmas gift for her mother, Akisha Pope, and father, Joshua Lee Burgess. What made it special was that her father's birthday was just 2 days later, on Christmas. When Akisha and Joshua met at Weddington School, they were just teenagers. The young couple was only 15 and 16 years old when Zaria was born. Like most teenage couples, Akisha and Joshua eventually separated, and Zaria mainly lived with her mother in Union County, North Carolina. However, her father remained very present in her life. He spent every weekend with her when she came to visit him. In his social media posts, he admired his daughter, called her his mini-me, and shared numerous photos with captions noting how much he loved her. He was present at her birthdays, movie outings, regular weekend visits, and much more. Many considered Zaria a happy girl who had his presence in her life. By the late 2000s and 2010s, Zaria was already a teenager and a promising star at Hermann R. School. She was part of both the dance team and the school orchestra. Her orchestra director, Alan Sturtevant, said she was full of energy and was a perfect member of school organizations. According to all accounts, she was extremely happy, seemingly an ordinary teenage girl who loved to laugh, spend time with friends, go to the movies, and do everything that teenagers typically enjoy. However, not everything was as cloudless as it appeared on the surface. According to testimonies, one of Zaria's closest friends told her mother that Zaria had confessed how much she actually disliked spending time at her father's house. She expressed concern that her father had serious anger issues and would sometimes rage at her for no reason. She also claimed that Zaria said she didn't feel accepted by her father's side of the family, as he was white and her mother was black, making her biracial. Zaria's friends and their parents suspected that Joshua might have been using drugs, but she never confirmed this. Regarding Zaria's mother, Akisha, and her attitude toward how her daughter perceived her father, it was never clearly understood whether Akisha knew about her daughter's feelings toward him. For some time, Akisha was accustomed to weekends without her child and used this time to be part of a dance group at her church. The only way for her to go there was to send Zaria to her father. On the weekend of August 17, 2019, Zaria begged and pleaded with her mother not to send her to her father's house. She was so adamant about not going that she sent a message to one of her friends asking to stay overnight. But the friend replied that she couldn't because her family had their own plans for the weekend. So, unfortunately, Zaria had no choice but to go to her father's house. To this day, that friend regrets not allowing Zaria to stay with her. Akisha didn't perceive her daughter's hesitation as a warning sign, instead just attributing it to teenage behavior when teenagers want to do what they want and show disobedience. So, she still sent her daughter to be able to be part of the church dance group. What Akisha didn't know, and probably could never have imagined even in her worst nightmares, was that this would be the last time she would see her daughter. Sunday, August 18, 2019, approximately 9:24 in the morning, 32-year-old Joshua Burgess walks into a police station and tells the first officer he sees that he is turning himself in for a crime. The officer says, "Okay, let me get your name and check the system for any warrants for your arrest." But Joshua stops him and says, "No, you don't need to do that. You won't find me in the system." He states, "I just killed someone." At this point, Police invite him into an interrogation room to give a full statement. Before the information reached the media, Joshua gave the police a complete confession about what he had just done. He named his daughter's full name and, with zero emotion, as calmly as possible, explained that he had just taken his daughter's life and that if they went to his house now, they could find her body at 5100 Hampton Meadows Road in Union County, Monroe, North Carolina. Neighbors stated that they didn't even know anyone lived in that house. They thought it was abandoned or a den. The police went to the address provided, and indeed, there they found the body of 15-year-old Zaria Burgess. The scene that investigators encountered could be described as something straight out of a horror movie. When they opened the door to Joshua's house, they entered the living room, where they found Zaria's body in a very disturbing state, without clothing, with traces of numerous injuries throughout her body, a serious wound in the neck area, and her hands and feet restrained with handcuffs. Joshua had positioned Zaria's body as if showcasing his deed, especially considering what he told the police during his confession. Although Zaria's body had numerous wounds, the examination determined that the cause of death was a deep neck injury, officially described as a sharp object wound to the neck. But these are not all the disturbing details of what happened. Before inflicting fatal injuries on Zaria, Joshua tortured his daughter for more than 22 hours. He committed sexual assault against his own child, psychologically abused her, and applied strangulation. Joshua was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder, statutory sexual assault of a person 15 years or younger, 3 counts of first-degree sexual assault, first-degree kidnapping, and first-degree sexual exploitation of a minor. Before continuing this heartbreaking story, I want to ask for your support. If you believe that such stories should be told, please leave a comment, share your thoughts, subscribe to Underworld Expose, and spread this video among those who should hear it. Consider becoming a channel sponsor to help me continue my work covering child safety issues and honoring victims like Zaria. Every subscription, every comment, and every repost helps these important stories reach more people. In June 2022, after 3 weeks of trial, 35-year-old Joshua Burgess was sentenced to death for the murder of Zaria, as well as an additional 76 years for other charges. He was found guilty. The execution protocol involves lethal injection, and in North Carolina, for the death penalty to be imposed, the jury must vote unanimously for it. Otherwise, the accused is sentenced to life imprisonment. Although Joshua confessed to his crime, a trial was still necessary, as the state sought the death penalty. Despite Joshua confessing to his crime, he pleaded not guilty, and his attorney asked that his state confession not be replayed for the jury, but obviously this request was denied. According to detectives, Joshua explained several motives for his actions during his confession, but 2 main themes that ran through everything he said were control and lust. According to information from witnesses who were present in the courtroom during the replay of Joshua's confession, he spoke without any remorse and said that he had planned all of his sinister weekend with Zaria, from breakfast with her to the horrible acts he imagined. He fantasized about it all day until he surrendered to the police. He allegedly stated that he had unnatural feelings towards Zaria, and as she grew older, he didn't want her to be with anyone else. He wanted her to belong only to him in the most sick, perverted sense. It is also alleged that he said he initially planned to create a scene at the police station when he came to surrender so that they would shoot him. Essentially, this would have been suicide by police. However, he eventually gave up on this because he was afraid to die. According to those present, Joshua claimed that he enjoyed every moment of what he did to Zaria and that these were the best weekends of his entire life. After he inflicted severe injuries on Zaria and strangled her, he thought she was already dead. But the girl managed to gather her last strength and come to. She had enough strength to get up and try to escape when she rushed to the door, but Joshua caught up with her, grabbed her, and inflicted a fatal wound to the back of her neck, then placed her body on the living room floor. Union County Sheriff Cathey said, "The details of this murder are unspeakable. Every officer and detective involved in this case feels the consequences of what happened to this child. There is no logical answer that would explain why this person did what he is accused of. Our hearts and prayers are with Zaria's mom and her family." The Union County Sheriff's Office stated, "This was truly an especially heinous, cruel, and cold-blooded murder of an innocent child. This case was emotionally draining for all involved. We continue to grieve with Zaria's mother and pray for her." After Zaria's death, internet detectives began searching for possible motives. Why her father, who outwardly appeared to love his daughter very much, would kill her in such a horrible way. As already mentioned, detectives stated that his main motives for the murder were lust and control. However, the state of North Carolina kept information about this case secret, which caused a lot of speculation on social media. These internet detectives investigated Joshua's Facebook page and began accusing him of being a white supremacist, based on racially charged memes he posted, particularly with Barack and Michelle Obama. They also pointed to various pages he liked, including Donald Trump's pages, Fox News, and the now-defunct alt organization, Flame of the Serpent. Because of this, they suggested that Zaria's death was a kind of ritual murder for entry into a white supremacist group or a satanic cult. One of the most disturbing posts made by Joshua was from February 8, 2016. In it, he is holding a K-bar knife with a long blade. In the background, an assortment of other folding knives can be seen. The caption said, "I just really love cutting people. Oh, I meant things. I love cutting things." Your support can help prevent similar tragedies. Please subscribe to Underworld Expose, press the like button, and leave a comment below. Share this video with everyone you know so that Zaria's story is never forgotten. Stay with me, as I will soon share another important case that also deserves our attention and awareness. Zaria's funeral service was held on August 25, 2019, at the Christ Discipleship Bible Worship Center in Marshville, North Carolina. The Monroe High School Red Storm School Orchestra dedicated their performance at the 2019 Battle of the Bands in Dillon, South Carolina, to Zaria. In all the articles and news stories that were published, there was no information about any previous instances of abuse between Joshua and Zaria, apart from mentions that he was angry or that she didn't want to be around him. There were no mentions that he physically harmed her or of violence between him and her mother, Akisha. There are no reports of this in their family history. Although there were mentions of drug addiction, it's still strange. Was he a pervert all these years and just good at hiding it? Was there violence that simply was never documented? How can one wake up one day and just say, "You know what? Today I'll let the devil take over my flesh and commit this horrible act on my own child"? And even plan it? Even family members are puzzled as to why this happened. Zaria's family was devastated by her loss. No punishment will ever seem sufficient for the sick demon who committed such a crime. There is no logical reason that could explain Joshua Burgess's actions. Ultimately, testimonies about Zaria's character indicate that she was a loving, full-of-life girl whose life was tragically cut short by the horrible actions of a man who should have protected her. This story breaks the heart and is a terrible reminder of how important it is to listen to our children's concerns and be vigilant about warning signs that may arise, even when the family outwardly seems normal. Sometimes the scariest monsters don't live in fairy tales, but in real life, and often their victims are defenseless children, like Imani Moss.